Hey y'all, I'm back and I promised I would do a recording to a blog post that I put out about a month ago talking about the 6 or 7 books that got me through my first 6 months of loss after this past year. And I wanted to dive right into what those books are, why I love them, and if you are a person going through loss or if you know someone that is going through some sort of loss, some sort of grieving, they make a absolute wonderful gift that you can send somebody instead of flowers or anything like that. I received a lot of these books from friends or found them on my own, or they were suggested to me by someone, and they are invaluable. So without further ado, I'm going to start with the last one on my list, Surviving the Death of a Sibling by T.J. Ray. I really liked this book because it is extremely specific. There are not, and the author talks about this, but there are not a lot of books that get this specific about losing a sibling and how unique that is and how much of your world just gets shaken. It speaks directly to those that have lost a sibling and how that differs from all the other losses out there. Not worse, not better, just different. I read this book shortly after Nina's passing, and I have to admit, in a time where I felt extremely alone, this book helped me not feel so alone because I knew there were some other people out there that had lost someone as close with them, a sibling that was close with them. Big thank you to Martina Vassal, who suggested this book to me, and yeah, that is that is one of them. I'm a big fan of it. Next one on the list is The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself by Michael Allen Singer. Oh, this book. So this book isn't necessarily about grieving or loss. It's more about finding yourself. I would say this book is about opening up your heart and being vulnerable to allow what is out there in the world to enter your heart. Absolutely beautiful. If it's a very quick read, it's a very short book. They also have a workbook as well if you would like to partake in the workbook as you read it. I think they're really great in conjunction with one another. But The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself, it wrecked me. It was a book that I read during Nina's sickness and shortly after she had passed. And when I teach yoga, I usually pick a passage from this book to read because it's a lovely way to heal and to deepen your soul. And it's also beautiful writing. My next book is a book that I come back to over and over and over again. It is called Comfortable with Uncertainty by Pima Chodron. Cute short story about this. My sister-in-law and I went to Denver this past year to just get some bonding time, get some healing time, and I went into this amazing bookstore in Boulder, Colorado. And I love looking in bookstores, and I found this section of like kind of self-help books, my favorite section nowadays. And it was so strange because there was this one book that said comfortable with uncertainty, and then I would look at the next book next to it and it would say identity, feeding your soul, and then the next book next to it would say something like your life is a transitional movement or something like that. I can't remember. But it was like they were each speaking directly to me. And when I took a step back, kind of like a Monet painting, I realized all of the books that I was drawn to were all from the same author, which is this Pima Chodron. And to add a little bit more to this, where I teach in person at a couple different places around town in Pittsburgh, and one of them is called South Hills Power Yoga in Dormont. So I have a ritual before I teach class. I meditate, and then I read from this little book, and it always makes me feel better. And it's just these references of how to deal with impermanence in your life, how to just deal with being human and surrendering and remaining present and open instead of all the other things that you can be. And it was so funny because when I picked up this Comfortable with Uncertainty book and started reading it, I noticed that the writing was very similar. And this little tiny book that I've been reading before yoga class for years, it's the same damn author. And I just never realized it. It was just one of those things I picked up and read it and gained some wisdom and solid ground from it. And it's the same author. And so the same one that had the Monet style speaking to me in Boulder, Colorado. Same one I've been reading for years. Different lessons. It was like the pocket book of Pima Chodron, which I highly recommend. But if you are a person that is lost right now, feeling lost, and once again, it doesn't have to be from the loss of someone close to you. It could be the loss of identity. It could be a loss of job. It could be loss of a friendship. It could be life, as we know it coming out of COVID. I mean, Jesus, everybody's struggling right now. So comfortable with uncertainty, not knowing what comes next and surrendering to it. This is what this book in particularly comes back to time and time again. And this is a book that I come back to. It's a book that you can put down and just pick up, which those don't get enough credit. Usually we sit down, we read a book from cover to cover. This is a book that you can just pick up at any time in your life when you need it. Any page. It doesn't have to be in order. There is no order. It's any page you can open and relearn or see something new for the first time. I absolutely love it. It's teaching me on how to be more comfortable with the unknown, being more present, being less anticipatory of the future, and surrendering to the present without being expectant or judgmental. Really, really hard subjects to swallow, but really incredible to implement in your everyday life. Highly, highly recommend. The next book was actually recommended by my therapist. Thank you, Kim. I love you. You seriously, don't know what I would have done without you this past year. So she recommended this book, and she actually recommended that my husband and I read this book at the same time. And it is called Say What You Mean, A Mindful Approach to Nonviolent Communication by Orin J. Sopher. This book is a doozy. It's a game changer. It breaks down and shines light on patterns that we all have accumulated throughout our life of how we communicate with other people and how we communicate with ourselves. It talks about, passive aggressiveness, just like, aggressive behaviors, non-aggressive behaviors, setting boundaries, not setting boundaries, communication with family, relationships. It gives examples. It really, really is incredible. And Phil and I reading this together are finding better ways that we can communicate our feelings, because let's face it, it's hard to communicate your feelings, period. What you're thinking in your head, almost 100%, it never comes out 100% the same. I mean, even as I'm recording this podcast, the shit in my head is not, it's very different than what you guys are hearing, or you are listening to this and you are perceiving something in a way different than what I intended you to perceive it as what my perception of what I put out there was. This happens all the time. It happens with family, it happens with friends, it happens with everyone. It happens all the time. So I guess what I'm saying is we could all use some help, even if you haven't lost someone, of how to communicate better. And especially in this day and age when it's all text, it's all Facebook post or Instagram post, in a time where people are really nervous to pick up a phone and call someone, or avoidant of picking up a phone and call someone. I think this communication book is essential, and honestly, I think it should be taught in schools. Yeah, I said it. I think it should be like 101 when you get to a place where you can actually absorb this information that this guy is putting out. It's this healthy communication that we hold in our lives and that we use all the time. It's essential, and it starts with you. It doesn't start with the other person. It starts with you and how you are opening yourself up and communicating with the other person. This read is helping me in my own patterns and my habits of communication with myself and those I care about. It just unsticks the ways that we grew up with that can be really hard to unravel over time. And it's really lovely. I mean, it's a lot, but take notes. Just grab a paper and pen. You're going to need it. The next book I actually recommend in conjunction with the Say What You Mean book that I just mentioned. I happened to pick it up. I was at one of my favorite stores called Cards Unlimited in Pittsburgh, and this book screamed at me. I used to go there for fiction and like young adults and Stephen King. Now I'm just like trolling the self-care, the self-help books, which is fine. It's where I'm at. It's where I'm at right now. That's what I need to digest. You do you, I do me. But Set Boundaries and Find Peace was the name of this book, and it's by Nedra Glover Tawwab. I'm about 80% through it, and wow, it is a lot. I would say this book is perfect for those that are ready to take a deep look at themselves and how they interact with people in their lives. It peels back the curtain of your healthy and unhealthy relationships, your communication, and it is a complete rewiring of your system. Not for the faint of heart. I will say that I learned a lot of things about myself, and I'm still learning that I'm not only trying to digest, I'm also trying to identify and then try and implement these practices from this book. It is work. It is like taking a class, but it's really cool. And it's cool because it will help you create boundaries for yourself that you didn't know maybe you needed. Talking about like codependency, family trauma, just how to set boundaries and when to set boundaries. And also if we need boundaries set, like it just takes a look at all of these things that honestly, the word boundaries wasn't in my vocabulary well, for a very long time. Apparently I have people-pleasing tendencies. Woo-hoo. Who knew? You're going to find out all of that and more about yourself. It will list it in black and white. And just be ready for some shifts. Just be ready to just shine some light on some deep shadow work is what we're talking about here. Eye opening. They also, the author also has a workbook to go alongside this, and I highly suggest getting that as well to follow along and make notes, because otherwise it's going to be hard to digest everything that you read. Just saying. Very great book. But if you are not there yet, if you are not ready for Say What You Mean, if you are still struggling, if you are lost, if you feel confused, if you feel lonely, if you feel like your life doesn't have meaning or purpose and you don't know who you are anymore, I am with you. I identify with you. I am here for you, because I felt that really strongly in the first few months after Neen died. And I picked up this book. I happened to hear this podcast. I don't know where the hell I heard it, but it was called Life is in the Transitions, Mastering Change at Any Age by Bruce Feiler. I really liked this book. It was a very interesting read. I have personally felt for the past couple of years that I was heading towards transition in my life, and I still feel that way. I feel like more and more a lot of people that I talk to are feeling that way, especially coming out of COVID. And this feeling was catapulted after Nina died last year, my sister. It just revamped. So I found this book, and I personally was taking steps to healing, to transition. And the way that I started doing that was just reevaluating some simplistic things in my life. What I didn't like, what I did like, making lists, reassessing old things that I did enjoy that maybe I don't enjoy anymore. Getting in touch with my inner child, getting in touch with creativity, all of these things. And I will say that this book, after reading it, reinforced the steps that I was taking to heal myself. It showed me that I was on the right path. It gave me justification that my old patterns may not be serving me anymore, and that's okay. It also showed me that it's okay to let go of different identities. It's okay to change. We all will change. We are constantly evolving as human beings. And that's really hard for a lot of people to accept, because fear of judgment, fear of criticism, judgment that we hold on ourselves, judgment that other people hold on us. This book is a great grab to take a look and get in touch with your most honest self, especially if you're ready for something different and you feel that life is leading you to something different. Highly recommend. I really enjoyed it, and the stories in it are very inspirational. Okay, second to last book, and just a book that I feel everyone in the world should read, whether they lost someone or didn't lose anyone. It's called The Wild Edge of Sorrow: Rituals of Renewal and Sacred Work of Grief by Frances Weller. This book, I have to say, is everything to me. In my darkest moments this year, it was a complete source of light. it is written so, so beautifully that I found myself not wanting to consume too much of it in one sitting. I had to put it down and come back to it. Every time I was down and I picked it up, it made me feel better. It is my top favorite. And it speaks not just about my particular grief or the particular grief of losing someone, but the loss that we as humans share every day. Pollution, war, like just everything, every day. It's a grief that connects each and every one of us. And I truly believe that the world would be a so much better place if everybody just picked up this book and read it. I was very, very comforted by it. So if you are a person that has lost someone, please pick up this book, The Wild Edge of Sorrow. I cannot say enough about it. But from moment one, after this loss, I felt empty. And the moment I started reading it, I felt like finally nourished is the only way I can put it. Truly. And that's like the biggest recommendation that I can give. It's like I've been, I finally had a glass of water after not having water forever. That's how it felt. 2 more books that one I just finished, one I'm finally getting to reading. I mentioned in my prior podcast that my husband and I, every year, we give up like sugar and alcohol and carbs and caffeine, and at least I give up caffeine. And I finally got the nerve to download on audiobook Quit Like a Woman by Holly Whitaker. I definitely recommend this book. I recommend this book for men and women. It talks about our relationship with alcohol, talks about alcohol as a just force of nature that we're clawing against in our lives. And it forces you to take a look at what it does to your body, what it does to your mind, what it does to your relationships. And it was a really great read. I don't think I'll be the same afterwards. And that's okay. It has woken me up to a lot of things that I really didn't know that I needed to know and I wasn't ready for. I mean, who wants to talk about this in their 20s? Nobody. I'm 40. So now I kind of want to know what's going on. I want better sleep. I want to remember my life. I want to not be beholden to a glass of wine when I get home from the end of the day. I want to meet other like-minded people that are completely present in my presence. All that and more. All that in a bag of chips. It was really great. Pick it up. Check it up. Quit Like a Woman, The Radical Choice to Not Drink in a Culture Obsessed with Alcohol. Did I have another one? I don't think I had another one. Nope. I haven't started the book Untamed yet, and I'm excited to get through that, but I would love to hear from all of you what book suggestions you have for me. I'm in the market, as it was, because I'm out of books now. That's never a great place to be. So please, if you can send over some suggestions, I would really appreciate it. I would love to hear from each and every one of you. As I mentioned in my previous episode, I have 3 spots available for my upcoming yoga sailing retreat in Greece on June 18th for 7 days. You can come sailing with me as we explore the hidden nooks and crannies of this beautiful, beautiful world, dine on amazing food, meet like-minded people, meditate, do yoga, recharge, and surround yourself in healing waters. It is such a wonderful time. It's such a meaningful time, and I can't wait to do it. I did it last year in Croatia. This year I have 3 places going. I'm also putting together a healing from grief sailing retreat that is specific to healing from grief. So if you'd like more information about that, feel free to reach out. Also, I should have my vision board workshop available for purchase online. The workshop will be up on my website sooner rather than later. And if you are a person that is interested in meditation or stress relief, as always, you may join me on my Sunday evening 8 p.m. stress relief class. It is beginner friendly. I would love to welcome you there. It's online, and I also will be releasing an intro to meditation class and a getting in touch with your inner child workshop. As always, it is my privilege to be here. Thank you for listening. Keep it moving, everybody. You can find Marta on the Move at martaonthemove.com, Twitter at I Can't Find Marta. See you all later.